Hello and welcome to a Big 12 Championship edition of the Cyclone Insider podcast and live stream. I'm Travis Hines. He's Eugene Rapay coming to you from Arlington, Texas, in AT&T Stadium, where Cameron Skattebo absolutely demolished the Iowa State football team, along with his Arizona Sun Devils 45-19 on Saturday afternoon. Just an incredibly difficult day for Iowa State. I don't know that there's any other way to look at it. Things were tough heading into halftime, and then they absolutely cratered in the third quarter. Iowa State commits 3 turnovers. Arizona State scores 3 touchdowns off of those 3 turnovers, and then it went from Iowa State teetering to the thing being over before the fourth quarter even started. Rough showing for Iowa State today.
Yeah, they've been in that situation before, and I know they talked about it after the game. They're a second-half team, but they just didn't have it today, and not having it today is honestly just an understatement. Everything went from bad to worse on both sides of the ball during that third quarter, and it was pretty much the fourth quarter was just pretty much a formality at that point.
Yeah, I can actually see the highlights behind me on the TV, so sorry to Iowa State fans having to relive that, but really, like, the third quarter is when it spiraled out of control, but the warning signs were clearly already there with what Skattebo was able to do to the Iowa State defense, because Iowa State's offense actually moved the ball pretty well throughout the first half. Missed a field goal, otherwise would have had 13 points. They're down 2 scores. It just, they had no answer for Skattebo, and not that there are very many of them. He's, I think, for me, like, honestly, as a Heisman voter, I guess you're not supposed to tell who's on your Heisman ballot, but like, that wasn't such an impressive performance. Like, man, like, is that the guy you put at third on your Heisman ballot? I don't know. I mean, I think I think more people will today than were yesterday, because he was awesome. Like, so hard to tackle, incredible strength, incredible balance. He came in determined, and Iowa State just had no ability to tackle him in a meaningful way. It didn't help that Malik Verdun wasn't able to play. I think he was out there for just a couple of plays, and I think one of them he tried to hit Skattebo and knock him down and couldn't, because his arms are like, inoperable at this point.
Wrapped up.
But yeah, I mean, it got so even before things spiraled out of control in the third quarter, like the warning light was flashing red that this was going to be really hard for Iowa State to come back from 2 scores down against that Arizona State offense that looked like it was going to be able to get whatever it wanted, as long as number 4 had the ball.
Yeah, Skattebo definitely should be in that top 5, top 6 Heisman final. I don't even know how many they consider for a Heisman finalist, but 3? Oh, man.
Oh, you can only vote for 3, but they more than 3 can be invited to New York.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he should probably be trotted out whenever that showing is in New York next week. But as good as he was, Sam Levitt, too. I mean, he was awesome as a redshirt freshman, offensive freshman of the year in the Big 12. He was just as good, too. Threw 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and he was just as elusive as well. He gave Iowa State fits and had those timely scrambles, also had a 3-yard rushing touchdown. He was just poised under the pocket, had great awareness, scrambled out of danger, and just looked as elusive. Iowa State's tackling was not there today. Too many arm tackles. I can just picture every high school coach in America just looking at the arm tackles and using that game as just a cautionary tale for their players.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, to me, like, we haven't seen tackling really be an issue for them, at least not a glaring one, all season long. So, like, to me, that speaks a lot to Skattebo. It speaks a lot to Levitt's ability to break tackles. And I think you're exactly right about Levitt. Like, I was really impressed with him. He's like the perfect complement to Skattebo and what that offense wants to do, like, with his ability to throw the football, his ability to scramble, and his ability to run. Like, he was really, really impressive to me. Like, that Arizona State team is really good. Like, I mean, that's a solid team. Iowa State did themselves obviously no favors, but like, it was going to be an uphill battle all day, no matter what happened in that third quarter, because Arizona State's good. Like, does that excuse getting beat 45-19? No, I don't think so. But it's it's a tough moment, I think, for Iowa State to see how far away they were from Arizona State throughout this game. And like, would have things gone better against BYU or Colorado? Like, that's maybe the more frustrating part, like, as an observer of this, is with these unbalanced schedules. It's harder to know who's good and how good they are when not everybody plays each other.
Yeah, and Arizona State too has just been on a second half of the season tear. They're the perfect example of a team that got hot at the right time, winning 6 straight to get here and win the Big 12 title for a team that was originally picked last in the conference, which is crazy to think. It also just shows that we really don't know going into the year.
Yeah. 2 fumbles lost for Abusama. That's tough. Rocco Beck throws kind of a fluky interception, but that was a killer in the third quarter. I didn't think Rocco had his best stuff for most of the day today. Finished 21 of 35 for 214 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, just like Carson Hansen had some moments, but then you get down 2 scores, then you get down 5 scores in the third quarter. Like the running game kind of goes away. And, obviously what Skattebo did in the first half was on the Iowa State defense, but then like they were on the field constantly the second half of the third quarter with all the turnovers. They never really had a chance, right?
Yeah, and the other crazy thing too is Skattebo didn't even get any touches in the fourth quarter. Like he finished with 170 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and also caught a 33-yard touchdown reception. So his day could have been even higher. Like he could have had crazy video game numbers.
Yeah, you really could have. And again, really good player that I think will have. I'm assuming Arizona State will make the playoff. I think hell, they might move up to the 4th seed. With what they did today, but he'll be a player that'll be fun to watch in the playoff. For Iowa State, it's going to be, I think, difficult to regroup from this. I think that they can do it, and I would probably bet on them being able to, but you just got waxed at the biggest stage that you've played on all season. You don't win that conference title that you've been talking about and dreaming about and haven't had for over 100 years. And you're like right on the precipice of not only the conference championship, but being able to play in the playoff. And now you're talking about going to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is known for eating the mascot. So it's like, man, like the dichotomy there is just incredible that I do think like they're going to have to lick their wounds for a while and then, really regroup. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is not official, but it seems all signs are pointing in that direction. And I think that'll be, it could be hard for them to get up for that game. And if, who knows who they're playing. Some of the projections are Miami, how many of Miami's players play. My guess is fewer than Iowa State.
Yeah, and I know that the seniors have talked about wanting to leave on a high note, and I'm sure they definitely do, but to just go from the brink of history, you reach this point for only the second time in school history. You came in riding high. You got your 10-win season. You got all the other milestones along the way, but you just don't get that last check mark at the bottom of the list. Is definitely heartbreaking. And they have some time.
Far away. I mean, it's like the playoff, conference title, Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like, man, it's just like so stark of what winning and the difference between winning and losing.
And it doesn't help that the multi-bid dream got dashed like 4 weeks ago. The CFP pollsters were just not loving what the Big 12 had to offer.
No, and I think there's lots of reasons for that. I think the chief among them is the teams that we thought, to go back to what you said about the preseason poll, the teams that we thought that were going to be good weren't any good. Utah obviously struggled mightily. Kansas State was inconsistent. And when you don't have those teams performing at a super high level, and then you have the unbalanced schedule where you're not getting Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State all playing. Like Iowa State only played BYU, or no, who did they play out of that group? They didn't play any of them until Arizona State, obviously, this weekend. So, like, when your best teams don't play each other, you don't get those marquee opportunities. And I think that and the teams that we thought being good really hurt the Big 12 this year. And then, obviously, I think there is a real discussion that needs to be had about the influence that the Big 10 and SEC exert as part of this. But probably a discussion for another day.
Yeah, discussion for another time, Twitter threads for another time. There's a whole discourse there if you want it.
Yeah, Iowa State loses 45-19 to Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game. The Cyclones are now 0-2 all-time in this game and remain without a conference championship since 1912 and remain without a conference championship ever in a season that they needed to win more than 2 games to win a conference championship, like they needed to win the Valley back in 1912. So tough pill for Iowa State to swallow, though. The bowl game beckons later this month, and Cyclone Insider, Des Moines Register, will be there undoubtedly He's Eugene. I'm Travis. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.